Empower 11, the best of its kind in a highly transformative time. Are you empowered? Ready to turn your life up to 11? Awaken the life of who you are on the inside to match the life you were meant to live on the outside. Empower 11. Now is your time.
Empower 11 Radio. Greetings and welcome to Empower 11 Radio. This is the 1 hour live show that we bring to you every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And you're either listening to us live or you're listening to us on one of our recorded rebroadcasts that you can catch on Spreaker, which is the platform that we come to you on. You can download Spreaker onto your iPhone app, or it's an iPhone app or an Android app, or you can listen to us on the Spreaker website. Also, our shows are archived on iTunes, so you can always catch us on iTunes as well. For more information, check us out at empower11.com. That's EMPOWER, the number one.com. And be sure and like us on Facebook. We have a fan page there. You
can stay up to date with all that we have going on.
Yes, I'm Jack Voorhees, and this is my beautiful and talented co-host, Ann Ribley.
Well, hello there, Jack Voorhees. I love doing this with you. You are an awesome, collaborative partner who is both compassionate, genuine, smart, a genius. And this collaboration that we have, I'm excited about today's topic because collaboration comes from this power of connection, which is one of my favorite things to talk about.
So we're coming to you from Santa Barbara County, where and today is November 28th, 2012. And today is a kind of overcast, actually sprinkling today, which is unusual for where we are. And I hope that wherever you are in the world, that you are having your own sunshine, whether it be external or internal.
Yes, it looks very fallish today.
Yeah. And also, we'd love to hear from you. So if you want to send us your comments, show suggestions, what have you, just email us. The email address is info@empower11.com. So, Ann, today's a full moon, new moon?
Today is the full moon, which is the cycle of the month where we can actually easily release that which has been hidden or darker or heavier in our life, because the full moon brings illumination to the darkness. It actually has a real phenomenon in the cycle of nature that it's in the Farmer's Almanac, because they plant and synchronize their crops according to the moon cycles. So the full moon has a lot of power. We know this, that when things seems like they've gone crazy, people will blame it on the full moon. You know, the lunatic phrase, it's the lunar phase. That's kind of where it all comes together. But it's got a lot of power. So today, you know, whether you're listening to this show right now live or in the rebroadcast, just know we're in a time frame that you can take anything that needs to have light brought to it and you can release it and watch the miracles and transformation happen up, because we live in a connective world where everything that's going on the inside of us, you know, shows up and demonstrates itself outside in the world. That's why I love the Empower 11 stance. It's about getting into that good place, though, and the rapport that we want, so then our world is showing up in a matching rapport on the outside for us.
And tell us about the rituals that you do on the new moon and the full moon.
Well, on the new moon, it's to bring in new energies, and on the full moon, it's releasing more of that darker, what we want to be gone in our life, what we brought light to have it dissolved. So today is the time to bring light to, and you write it down on a piece of paper, everything that you would like to relinquish. You would like to just surrender it up to the universe, to God, to all the universal loving presence that surrounds the universe, and give it away, surrender it up, and watch how much lighter we become on the inside by surrendering up that which feels like prayers that we don't know how they're going to be answered, or wishes that we want to come true, and yet we don't have the exact ways in which they can. So if we write it down, I'm a firm believer we can write our lives right. Write it down, hand to paper. This is where we get the old fashioned going. We're not doing it on a laptop. We are.
There isn't an app for that?
Right. We get a pen and a piece of paper and we write down all those things we would like to relinquish, we'd like to release, we'd like to be gone from our lives. Just starting from a place of lack, whatever feels lacking in our lives. It can feel in a sense of lacking in resources financially. It can feel like a sense of lacking in certain kind of dynamics that we would like to have released in our relationships, whether they're in work, whether they're in personal and intimate realms and families and friends. We can release any area where we're maybe impatient, we're not present, we're any area. So I always tell people, just start with lack. What feels lacking, and release that, relinquish that. And power comes from that illumination and that releasing it. And then what you do is you stick it in the fire and you say, I relinquish. You declare it, you claim it, you ask for it to be gone. So in our home, and I've been doing this with my kids, it just is a great way for them to not feel like they are victim to their surroundings and to the things that are happening that do feel discontenting to them. They have a way to ask for their prayers, to have a way to release and give up something. So we do this ritual, and I've been doing this for several years now, and my kids work on things in their external world they want change, and they also work on character aspects of themselves they want change, things that they know are patterns they need changed within themselves. So write it, and you'll write it right in your life, throw it in a fire, say, be gone, proclaim it, I relinquish. That's the surrender. You're turning over to God, the Creator, for your own healing. And watch, it's powerful and transformative.
All right, so today our show is about this power of connection, or this powerful connection, this being connected to this magnificent force that can empower us and get us in tune with life's rhythm and flow. So what does this mean, Anne, to you, this connection?
Oh, wow.
How would you describe this connection?
We got to isolate this down into a 1-hour show, because I love this whole topic, because it's such a range of the core of life. We come into this world, connected to our mother, and then, in birth into our own independence, as not being connected that way, we come into a world where we have this interdependence that happens from our surroundings, that happens on whether we thrive or not. So there's these basic nature cycles to what does the power of connection mean. And then there's these ranges in such a way that determines so much on how much we thrive in life. I mean, you get down to the basic fundamentals aspects, even in a core relationship, how the energy between two people, even that sexual union, can only happen in its highest fulfillment, and not in isolation, but in this powerful connection between two people and that intimacy. So there's so many aspects to this connection, from the whole unifying field of the God presence, the loving universal presence that unifies us to each other, to our world, to nature. And then there's the connection and how it shows up in our lives, with our purpose. How close are we connected to our passions and our purpose and our callings inside of us, in our hearts? And how does it show up in our health? How connected are we to this body, this this temple that we dwell in, and how much are we honoring that connection to the health and well-being of our body.
Yeah, so when I think about this connection, it's kind of like this vibrational harmony. Everything in the universe is vibrating. Nothing is standing still. Every molecule, everything is constantly vibrating, and it all has this like frequency. And when you can tap into this frequency, when you can, when we're aware and we're in this place of just a really good tuning, all these things can happen that are just, they're beyond like coincidences. We think about somebody and then the phone rings. Something we need just mysteriously shows up at the right time in the right place. The thing for me, like that really, the example in my own life where I really knew I was in this really good tune is when I went on this on my first motorcycle trip, and I just threw everything on the back of the bike, and I just headed out. And it was about the journey. It wasn't about the destination. And just whatever come what may happens along this journey is that was okay. I was in. I didn't have expectations. I didn't have, I just had this total acceptance for what was, and enjoying the moment. And there's something about being on a motorcycle. You're vibrating on this motorcycle, and it seemed like whatever. All these things just started happening in my favor. Just. I pull up in the Adirondack forest, and there's, I'm hungry, and there's nothing around. I hadn't seen a telephone pole in, probably a half hour, and I pull up on this place that's kind of off the road, this little cafe, and I get in there, and it looks like everybody's leaving, and I was like, "Oh, you guys are closing?" And the woman said, "Yes, I'm sorry, we're closing." And then the cook was just walking out that moment, and he said, "Hey, come on in, I'll make you something." And he made us this wonderful meal. And this is 4th of July weekend. This time, it's busy. The campsites were all filling up and everything, and we asked when we were leaving, is like, is there any place to camp around here? And they were like, oh boy, 4th of July weekend, I think everything is going to be filled up. But one of the best spots in the whole forest is just down the way. So I get out of the cafe, and it's like pitch black. I could hardly find my motorcycle, and I get on the motorcycle, and I head, and I find this place, and I asked them if they had any spots left, and the guy's like, "Wow, we just had a cancellation. The best spot we have is available right now, and it's the only spot we have." I'm like, "Great!" And I'm pulling up, and it's dark. I'm setting up the tent by the light of the bike, and the ranger comes by and says. He says, "Hey, this is the best spot in the whole forest?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I hear." But it was pitch black; I couldn't see anything. Later that night, I got up to go to the bathroom, and the moon had come out, and it was this beautiful lake and mountains and just gorgeous area. But being in this place, when I left the next day, I had to get to this ferry to get across and go to Vermont, and there's no place to camp around there. It's just sheer rock everywhere, for miles and miles and miles. And I pull up, and they say, I said, is there any more ferries? And they said, "Oh yeah, last ferry leaves in 10 minutes. And I went in and had a cup of coffee. It started pouring rain, and I come out and the rain stops and just everything just happened. You know, and I'm going over the the lake on this ferry, and this beautiful rainbow comes out, and it's just everything working in this perfect synchronicity kind of thing, like everything we need showing up when we need it, right at this perfect time, and the whole trip went like that. Just amazing.
Well, that's, a lot of times people will call that being in the zone, or, coming from your sweet spot. And it's this powerful place of connection that we can get in rapport that's not of the mind, but it's in the state of vibration and being. And we've all experienced it, just like what you said, Jack, in different areas of our lives. I know, many of us have experienced it financially when we've asked for, to be shown and to make the request to have unexpected money show up for us today, and then it does. I mean, I remember when I was in the midst of major transformation and unknowns that was crossing the paths with my home that I was living in, through the divorce I was going through. I remember one day I was really confused because the house was in my former husband's name, and he wasn't making the payment. He was doing his different things, but I had no power because it wasn't in my name. And it was just, I remember not knowing really what I should be doing. Should I be making the payment on his behalf, although he was like letting the house go, but me and the kids were living in there? I remember asking, and I was so confused as to what I should do. And I remember making like this prayer request, and it was like, if I am to make this payment today, give me the means clearly to do it. And I remember walking down to my mailbox, and there was a check for a couple $1,000 unexpectedly that showed up for more than enough to make the house payment that day. And it was in direct correlation. And I've had it happen in smaller scales, and that was something that was tied, in a really strong plea at that time of rapport I wanted to with my life. And then I know that, we see it with relationships with, we think of somebody and they call or they show up. And, Jack tells a story about, that the journey on the motorcycle and the way everything just had this synchro destiny kind of like vibration to it. And really, it's like the power of connection. It's about getting into that, not in these little isolated, coincidental, situational experiences, but have that become the embodiment of our life and our journey here in life. I know that when my son broke his elbow, I had a close family member that's my nephew, and he's always really cared and went out of his way to always check on, especially when the boys and I were going through our phase, to see how we were doing. I know he got really busy with business stuff, and I hadn't heard from him in a couple of months, but it was really interesting when my son broke his elbow. He was the first family member out of the blue to call me, but it was literally within like the 2 minutes my son broke his elbow. He called and said, "Hey, Ann, you and the boys are on my mind. I'm just wanting to check in and see if you guys are okay." And it was like, I said to him, "That's really weird. I mean, I haven't even left our home yet to drive him to the hospital," because that's how on the spot and that connection he was in that moment. So I feel in our lives, with our health, with our relationships, relationships really is about relation. It's that relation to the spirit of the people around us. And I think sometimes we think that that power of connection or that relation has to depend on the other person, but really it's our own connection to ourselves and what we're giving to the world, regardless of what's going on, because we can carry that power of connection and vibration of rapport.
Yes, sometimes people, I believe, can get tied up in a connection that isn't the real juicy, good high vibrational connection. It's just like they start to have their identity wrapped up in like who they're connected to. You see these people that name drop a lot, and they're or people that are really into their ancestry as like I'm this because of my past or people in my past. And that isn't really just that magical place of, just being in this really high energy connectiveness, having the universe support you in whatever you're doing, when you're doing it, and this good flow of energy. I think that that's it's kind of a you can really get off track if that is your connection, if that's how you feel that you are connected. Although those things can be part of this whole, your relationships with people and stuff can be part of this whole universal type of energy, this connection. But as long as it's you can see it past just what's in front of your face.
Yeah, because that's where the magic comes in, is when we see it in this very unifying, wholeness, unity style place versus a non-fragmented, a disconnected place. And a fragmented and disconnected place would be, I'm this and I'm special in this way because of this unique connection which makes me different than you. And when we think that we're different or more special, it's really a disconnect. I want to just talk about the power of connection. On the flip side of the power of connection is what I would call the disease of distraction and disconnect. And I think it happens, we're living in a time right now where our availability to connect to the needs of our survival for food, our availability to connect to everyone and all around us have never been easier. Yet running so rampantly in this power of connection, if we don't use it in its way that it's balanced and enhancing us, also sits the deterioration, the disease of distraction, the disease of disconnect from each other.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to disconnect. I mean, some of the most powerful ways I know of to disconnect is by using outside drugs and alcohol to change your state of being, your perception of reality, to try to induce this kind of happiness that isn't like a real kind of happiness. It's kind of a trickery kind of way, but it's a total disconnect. When you disconnect your mind, everything else just seems to follow.
So but when you describe that, Jack, that's like the manufactured connection we try to give ourselves, which is based on an artificial means, which can actually produce more disconnect. Right. And then it's in our lives. This happens in our lives, even with our health, and our relationships and our purpose, where we can get so distracted. I'll just say, like, the disease of distraction and disconnect can just happen from the fundamental basic idea of gossip. Look at how this runs even in our media, is we place the focus on other people, talking about other people's situation. It distracts us from being and showing up in our own lives, and we're using that to manufacture a disconnect.
Yeah. There's all, there's this, you see this disconnect when you go out to eat and you see a table of people not talking but texting or checking their Facebook status or something like that. They're not like being present right there in the now. They're being, there's all this kind of, there's many, many, many different ways of distracting and losing this connection that can really give us this power.
Yeah, and that's where it's cute. I've seen some of my young nieces, go out to dinner with their girlfriends, and they all put their phones in the middle of the table so that they don't lose the power of just hanging out and connecting with each other. And then in the other aspect of it, I'm not cursing our technology in our ability to have it, because we can be connected at our fingertips, and it can really make our lives easier because we become like mobile and virtual and connected to decisions and the knowing and what needs to happen.
Yeah, it is there is power in that. There is a way to be connected in a positive way using technology and stuff. And I'm all for technology. I'm a technology geek. I mean, I love this stuff.
Oh, you're more than a geek. You're a techie inside and out for sure.
The thing is, like, when we're so connected to this information, it's like we can get bombarded with stuff. Like in the old days, before we had this availability of all this connection, some catastrophic event would happen in the world, and not everybody would know about it right away. It'd be months after that. So when they find out that this thing happened months ago, you're not as like emotionally affected by it as you are just like here in the now, and like something's going on, and they got camera crews out there, they got all this stuff going on, and they're sensationalizing it and all that stuff, and that isn't like this using this technology to connect ourselves in such a positive way, I don't think.
Well, okay, let's talk about the connection to self, and even like I've heard about this, like, so we give cell phones to our children so that, in case of an emergency, they have the ways and means in order to connect to their parents, to other adults, which, in the ideology of it, I do think there's some really good points to that. And then there's another aspect where I heard somebody say this, and it had some really sticking power. And what she said, somebody said this in a conversation, is she says, I think when we've taken away by giving children such an easy way to call, instead of we've taken away their own skills to begin to navigate and handle themselves in any situation. Because I know this for a fact, that I had a family member who got in a situation where a dog was like coming after her, and she just started crying and called her mom. And it was just like more of a breaking down versus using the skills to navigate. If she didn't have the phone there, she'd have had to start doing something, but that's what she had to do. And so basically she had to be coached through, calm down, walk out of the situation because this dog was going crazy towards her. And some people may argue and say that it's good that she was able to make that phone call, but I start to think that we can lose connection to being able to navigate in our world because it becomes a way out. It becomes a way out instead of being able to build those skills to navigate easily.
When you talk about the self-connection, I'm a firm believer that we all come into the world with these unique gifts that we already have. You look at kids. You have multiple kids. You raise them the same way, and they all come out different because they're already born with these unique gifts and stuff. And when you can tap into the ones that you have and get in harmony and with those and present those to the world and give the gifts of who you are to the universe, the universe responds in magical, powerful ways. It's when we get out of sync with who we are and why we're here and our purpose and all that then life gets it gets distorted. This place of the feeling where we're not in our purpose can cause us all kinds of harms in our health and our mental well-being.
So the question that I want to ask, and I know for myself, this has been part of my eager pursuit to show up and be honest with that, is in what way do you need to reconnect with yourself, with your purpose, with your health, with your wealth and finances, with relationships, with the spirit of who you are, with your soul, with your spiritual growth, with your personal expansion of who you are in this world? And asking yourself, in what area do I need to start infusing a bigger, stronger, powerful connection? Because that's really what integrity is. Integrity is this place of truthfulness, this place of strength within ourselves. So if, your finances are weak, begin to go into the ways to strengthen that connection. If your health is weak, if it doesn't feel strong, go into the ways to build that connection stronger, become more in your body, become aware of your body. In your relationships, when we think that our health, our finances, our relationships, even our career, our purpose depend on something from the outside, we undermine our own integrity, which is that strength and that source and substance of who we are, to build a stronger rapport in our world. So my question is asking yourself in real honesty, in what way do you need a stronger connection? And begin to open yourself up to making the changes and the steps and calling forth those core changes that will build you stronger.
Well, and I know, because I've just experienced this, to just be an absolute reality, is that all the areas of your life that you need to raise. I mean, if you can't just focus on one area of your life and make that great and sacrifice other areas of your life, because if you lower the bar in any area of your life, you lower the bar in every area of your life. And you can't say, okay, I'm just going to focus on wealth and let my health or my spirit or my relationships go downhill. It's connecting to all. You don't disconnect in order to connect to some other area stronger.
I agree with that. I really like you clarifying that, Jack, because I do feel that in some areas of our lives, maybe they've gone so far out of balance that they're going to take so much more energy to restore that connection. But the way to do it isn't getting out of balance in the other areas as well. So I wholeheartedly agree that it's this connection that's across the board. And when it's real and it's truthful and it's from the core, the other areas just naturally start to rise up.
Yeah, and then so why this connection? Well, you'll notice that things come easier when you're in tune. When we stay connected, then this universal cooperation just starts influencing our life. When I'm out of tune, when I'm not spiritually connected, then everything becomes more difficult. I mean, everything from putting on a seatbelt to, every aspect of my life just becomes more difficult. And then when I slow down, come back to center, get connected, to get to this place where, it's our natural place of being, but I think that often we can get so busy that we become disconnected. We become so involved in the doing that we become less involved in the are-ing.
The being of it. Yeah, yes. The being of it. We are it. I really love this idea of interdependence is where our highest point of cooperation is invited in with. It's this interdependence in our relationships because they serve our relation to life. So I think even looking at the core of all our relationships, and if we take it to a place of, we just came off of the Thanksgiving holiday, we're getting ready to go into, to more holiday season, and our relationships really become mirrors and serve to this relationship we have to life. And sometimes we can think the power of relationships sit in the other person and not in we're That's in true. Our place. So how do we get into this more interdependence with our world around us? Jack, you would talk about all the time, and that really was compelling and enthralling, the way you would always say that relationships need to always be mutually beneficial. And, there's the relationship with people and each other, but it's to our world, it's to nature all around us. I remember when the Twin Towers went down in 2000. I remember, and it's so haunting almost how, here I am on the West Coast, so removed from the physicality of this experience, that was happening on the East Coast. But it was so strange. Every day I'd go out and take my son for a stroll to put him down for his nap. And so I went out on this day, and there was a silence in the air. The birds were not chirping. I remember it was so haunting almost, because there was like a silence. And I really believe that it was felt, this feeling that even to the point that the birds had no celebration to be chirping that day.
Wow.
So we're connected. There's an interdependence that we have with all of us in our world around us, and this rapporting. They talk about the degrees of separation, that we're always only a few people from the highest level people that we could connect to, because we're all connected.
Right, is that the Kevin Bacon thing or something? 6 degrees of separation or something like that?
Yeah, oh, you mean from a celebrity like that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I think it's less than 6 degrees. I think the more connected we are, I think it even reduces. When
you were talking about getting together with relatives and stuff in those relationships, I always think of Eckhart Tolle. He says, you want to check your spiritual condition, go spend some time with your parents.
You'll see how you're doing. Yeah. Well, okay, so we come off these holidays, and Jack, you and I talked about it with this power of connection, that some people come out and they feel a sense of, camaraderie and celebration, getting together during the holidays with family and friends, and some people go deeper into isolation, a less connected state.
Yeah, some people come out with this joyous stuff of like, well, we met with our family and everybody was there and all the kids were, and it was all great and everything. And then other people come back from these things and like, oh my God, my family is so screwed up, and so they feel like less connected.
Yeah, so the power of connection. This is back to what I'm saying, when we can strengthen that, because relationships serve as our relation to life. And certain members of our family or certain level of connections that we have, maybe if we know our own balanced threshold is that we can handle it on small doses, then we have to honor that in ourselves.
I think we know. I mean, there's deep down, there's this knowing or this instinct that we are all connected. Because we naturally want to help one another. If we see somebody broke down on the road, or we see somebody who's hurt and there's nobody around to help them, then our natural instinct is to help them. And why is that? It's because we have compassion, and it's because why do we have compassion? And it's like because we can relate, and there's this connected. We are connected with everything, every person, everything, every being, everything on the planet.
So everything,
and maybe beyond.
Everything that each of us, that you who are listening right now, that we all desire to bring forth in our life, to call forth, to be connected to, whether it is, expanding healthier relationships, whether it's better prosperity, whether it's a healthier, more refined and sophisticated state of being in our bodies, in our minds, we are closer to that connection, to call it forth, than what our minds can even conceive. So I invite this power of connection, during this time of the year when, there's sort of this magical sense that can start to infuse with connection.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we don't have to wait for some excuse in order to become more connected, and connected with people and stuff. You see, like, a bunch of people at a sporting event. Okay, you got, thousands of people watching this team, and they score a touchdown, and everybody starts high-fiving one another. People they don't even know, they're just like, yeah, they're all and there's this connectiveness there that's just really, that energy is really powerful. And it's not just that there's a game going on. I mean, it's the people. The people really make it. I mean, how exciting would it be to go to a football game and you're the only one in the stands and you're just watching these people play football? I mean, it's not gonna have that same level of. It's that connectiveness, It's going to a comedy show and then hearing everybody else laugh. That just makes it even more, because if you went to that comedy, you just wanted to see that one comedian, you're by yourself, you wouldn't be laughing as much. These things that are shared are very powerful. I went to see this movie once. There was a bunch of us, and we all went to see Borat. And we were just a whole bunch of people, and we were just, being goofy and all, and we went to see that movie. And I could hear my friend Dave laughing down it, and that just made everything so much more funny. And it's because we got to share this experience.
This place of connection to me, when you're describing this, even Jack, about even being at a sporting event, it's an inclusive energy space, not an exclusive. And so the more we can infuse and imbue our lives with an inclusive energy, where it's not about who can we exclude, but it's how can we include, I think we do begin to call forth a lot of power, because we're getting into this shared connection, this power of connection. And I do believe it's a come closer energy, come closer versus a push away.
Yeah. So let's get a little bit more into this how. How do we empower this connection even more? And I think we've already covered some really good stuff, but there's this this thing for me is getting in nature. When I go to the ocean, or I go out in the woods or something like that, I feel this. I feel this really powerful connection that it's knowing that everything is just this whole kind of one thing supports the other, that supports the other, that supports the other, and is just being in tune, and this blissfulness and this place of peace.
I mean, I think it's a cure-all for a lot, even like children. If you watch them, I remember, the previous house that I lived in with my children was on a couple acres. And whenever they were not, getting along, or things were rambunctious in the house, it was just, him and my two kids, the brothers, couldn't get along with each other no matter what. I remember I could just send them outside. I could just say, go outside and don't come back for another hour, and just go play. And it was amazing how just getting out in nature, somehow this...
Yeah, kids don't get bored in the forest. And so you take them to the forest, you take them to the beach, they don't get bored, they'll find things to do with nature. They're exploring and building sandcastles and doing all kinds of stuff like that.
There's this tune that they start to get into, a rhythm that becomes more natural and restorative, so just taking today and finding a way to go out in nature, put your bare feet on the grass, finding a way, just even if it for a few minutes.
Yeah, we're not talking about turning on the nature channel. We're talking about actually going out and doing it, being a part of it, being one with it.
Yeah, so I do watch, just feel, give yourself like a few moments to be in this state with nature and become one with it, and watch the power of connection build stronger and link stronger for strength. I feel there's a lot to this power of connection, is how we link together for strength. This is that idea of the power in numbers. It's also the power in that connection to self, the power in the connection to others around us. This is where
to the universe.
Yeah, it's
to
where
everything.
It's support. It's finding that link for strength, through the power of connection with support. I mean, we all know that if we're trying to handle a certain situation in our lives, the more we can get tapped into a support group or the support of others, the easier it makes the journey.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like in AA, I could never have done it alone. I mean, there's this power of others that have done it before, or are going through some of the similar things, and just this sharing is what saves lives. That gives people gives people their freedom back, as when you're involved in that, you're so disconnected that you are a prisoner.
Then it's the support we give ourselves through connecting to that power and that strength, and it's the support that we give to others by connecting to that and offering that to others. That begins to expand this attraction for the match of what we need to show up in our lives. The more we can be supportive to others or supportive to ourselves, the more the support of the universe comes forth, and it becomes exponential. I mean, it becomes the solid strength of connection that leads us on our journey in really powerful, protected ways. I know for when I went through all my major changes and I felt very alone in certain ways with my kids and not knowing what tomorrow was going to bring, not knowing how to make things happen or how to keep us safe, I found a lot of strength with connecting to the support of the God force, of this unifying field, and knowing that in truth, to be in truth in my life, there was an incredible amount of strength that was going to lead me through the support I needed. And it showed up in such miraculous, mysterious, unexpected ways. But it became this natural flow. Like, Jack, when you're talking about that motorcycle ride, it became this natural flow where I was supported with this opportunity, this financial situation. It just was unbelievable. And it became exponential, so that I do feel now my life journey and pattern is encompassed in this powerful connection that has this exponential sense of growth and protection, that I really feel this buzzing sound that it can exist in the world of fear and distraction and doubt that can take us off our way and help, hide us from the power of connection and not letting us be in that core truth of our lives. I do believe it all can start to become silenced, and this rising up.
And I really loved what you said about truth, because nothing can make me lose this connection more than not being in truth. The truth of who I am, what I'm here for, and what I'm here to share with the world. I mean, that in my last relationship, I started sacrificing self in order to have the relationship. I would agree to things that wasn't really in the truth of who I am, and I really lost myself, and it's and I've mentioned on the show before, I had this friend who actually pulled me into another room once and said, Jack, this is not you. You got to get back to being you. And I couldn't really see it at the time. I could say, oh no, I just need X, Y, and Z to happen, and yeah, I know I need to change this or change that, but it was really the most important part was getting back to the truth of who I am. Living from that place and not all fragmented, disconnected, just trying to appease people and working, doing somebody else's plan and not my own plan, and this place. That's a real loss. This loss of self can cause this disconnect. I mean, there's many ways to lose yourself. I had experienced it with losing myself in the drugs and the alcohol and all that. But even after I had 10 years of recovery, I still ended up losing myself into this this relationship that I had that wasn't. I mean, it can't survive. It can't get stronger when there's this sacrifice. We don't do losing things in order to win. It's like we don't lower the bar in one area of our life to gain in another area of our life, because it just doesn't work like that. You lower the bar in any area of your life, and it lowers the bar in every area of your life. And I'll say it over and over because it's a strong point that really makes sense. And I think that how you get there is how you stay there, and this loss of self, this loss of self integrity is it's there's nothing worse than seeing the death of somebody's soul.
Well, when you say, Jack, when you were telling this story and you were talking about being in the truth, what's interesting, and I know it's so funny, when I began working with Jack, these are the things that made me fall in love with him, when I'd watch him just talk soulfully. Just now when he was talking, and he was talking about, losing what was important to himself, his hand would naturally go over his heart. So that's when it's like, I'd watch his body language at different times when we were talking, and I could just feel this place of truth when he would be talking from his heart to me. And just now, when he was talking about that part in yourself, and his hand would naturally go over his heart just now when he was talking. It's interesting, if you put everybody in a room and watch this phenomenon happen, and you said to everybody in the room, point at yourself. People do not point at their heads, they point at their hearts. It's a natural phenomenon that happens. If you said, you had everybody in a room and you said, point at yourself, everybody would naturally do the same thing. Because it's the truth of what's in our heart that trumps everything. That is the real source of connection. Not what our heads say, because that's not really where we are. That's not the truth of us, is what's going on in our head. It's what's in our hearts. That's that truthful part of life. And I know to infuse this power of connection, for me, it's really important to be in a place of inspiration, to give myself inspiration regularly, because that's being in spirit. That's being in truth, in spirit of who I am. Inspiration does that.
Yeah, creativity. We were created by a creator to create. We have the natural physical abilities to create, and then we create with our minds and our hearts.
So the more we can infuse inspiration into our lives, and even meditation, which is stillness to quiet the mind, to get to that powerful connection which resides somewhere in the heart of life, in the heart of who we are, in the truth of who we are, then we can embrace a stronger, powerful connection. And then taking these habits of inspiration and meditation and things that we do, and creating rituals, traditions. We're seeing this right now. We just come off of Thanksgiving. We're going into some more holidays. These traditions can infuse more power of connection. But we can do these on a daily level in our lives. I know for me, I get up every morning and I do my journaling. These are some of these rituals that I've done to increase this power of connection within myself, within my world around us.
Well, also your journaling keeps you in a place of truth as well, because you're journaling about what is in the now, and it's reflection and stuff like that. I mean, we often at the end of the day, I'll review the day, how the day went, and that's something that I started as a ritual from my days in early recovery. It's like that's something you did at the end of the day. You reflected on the day and how you acted and how the things you did and why you did them. And that's, important to take a few steps back and look at what you're doing and why you're doing it, because, else you're on autopilot, and that isn't being in the place of truth. So these rituals, whether it be meditation, whether it be, some form of reflection, whatever these healthy things are, the more we can incorporate these in our lives, the better. And we're going to go over, we actually have a whole show on
coming up in the next couple of weeks about rituals.
Yeah, so I mean, and I just think that's so important, the things we do on a daily basis.
Well, people don't realize that those are our rituals. Whatever we're doing on a daily basis are infusing the rituals of our lives, which is then creating the results and the power of the connection that we have to what's happening to us.
Exactly. We are running out of time, and we want to play an audio that we have prepared for you
about this power of connection.
Yeah. You want to introduce it?
Yeah. This was written from a place about this desire that's in us to really connect to the life we want to have, and it not being a curse, but it being a cause to reach out, to include, and to bring in. So wherever you're at right now, listening to this, driving in your car, at home in your house, walking around, sitting at your desk, wherever it is, I ask you to breathe in and breathe out this relaxation, this time to connect to who you are, to what's important to you in this world, because now is your time. What if
you knew this hunger inside of you
to love, to create,
to build,
to
design,
to have,
to hold, to give,
to receive,
to dream, to invent,
to imagine, to know.
Your whole life's design to be extraordinary was not a curse.
It was your natural life's desire for you to be great.
What if
you knew that somehow your own perfect timing, the meeting of chance and choice to make your life completely empowered with all your heart's desires, has brought you to this perfect place?
What if
you stood in that place of your life where you're so happy and trusting of what comes next? You know
you are not alone, because you get in a synchronicity with your own life's heartbeat, and this heartbeat vibrates you in the power of life you came from.
The source, the divine, God.
And this place you move into is your life's design for you to be empowered
with all the gifts you have that belong to you, and a world that's open to receive this offering and give back to you in magnified, magical ways.
What if you were empowered with the secret edge of knowing that something extra already resides in you to be extraordinary?
What if
you were empowered so clearly with the truth of your own possibilities that not another minute went by that you were not rising up to live a life beyond raising the bar of where you are today?
What if
you lived life by design?
What if
you lived life turned up past 10 and is now at 11 and beyond?
Because of that matching extra something.
What if
it was so clear in you that you naturally get pulled to your dreams? You become lived by your dreams.
It is not by chance you watch this presentation to know about Empower 11. However,
It is by choice. You can empower 11.
Empower 11. Beyond raising the bar. Now is your time.
Now is your time.
There's a video on YouTube that you can actually watch this video that goes with that audio that we prepared. So go check that out.
I think it's called Now Is Your Time.
Yes, and we want to thank you for
connecting with us.
Yes, listening and connecting. And we invite you to do the full moon ritual tonight.
Yeah, release anything that is heavy, that's been hidden, that is dark, that you want to bring to light, that you don't know how, but it will be healed, it will be taken care of, it will be transformed.
And we have a magical show next week.
Yes, it's Empower the Magical, which is so fitting at this time of the year, and how to infuse that more into your life.
Have an empowered week, and we will see you on the radio next week at 11 a.m. Pacific time.